I think it's getting important to your customers, and it's getting more and more important all the time. Secondly, it's Merlot. Merlot has a textbook signature aroma. People refer to it as a combination of wild cherry and tobacco leaf. If you go back, if you have some of this left, if you go back and taste it again, maybe you'll find those two components in there. But I think just saying that it's a classic Merlot with the classic flavors of wild cherry and tobacco leaf, sometimes you might want to leave out the tobacco leaf, but I'll leave that up to you. And the third thing is that Merlot, as a relatively large berry, when we harvest a cluster of Merlot, the berries are about the size of a nickel. When we harvest a cluster of Cabernet Sauvignon, the berries are about the size of a dime. What that means is that Cabernet Sauvignon is going to be a little more rugged when you taste it. The term is tannic. I don't know that you want to get into it. That's Neyers 201 again. But tannin is what naturally occurs in red wines because of the contact with the skins when we make them. Merlot, however, because it's a larger berry, tends to be a much softer wine in its youth. So natural wine, classic aroma and flavors, and soft.
Awesome. What does the Cabernet Franc? There's a small part of it.
Small portion of this is Cabernet Franc.
Yeah. What
Cabernet Franc is it's a little bit like cooking with. There's a restaurant, a very famous restaurant in the Napa Valley called the French Laundry, and I try to eat there once a year, although it's an arduous evening. It's a 6 or 7 hour meal. One of the things they started doing, but you know, the people come from all over the world to eat there. It was voted the best restaurant in the world, I think, last year. One of the things that they do there, one course, I forget what it is, but it's some kind of it's a couple of different quail eggs that are served with a foie gras, and they bring out 12 different kinds of salt. And you take a little bit of each salt, put it on the outside of your plate. I mean, this is really arcane fooding. And you try each one of those different salts. Each is different in texture, each is different in flavor, each smells a little bit different. But the important thing is that collectively, when you put them on the dish becomes more complex. Adding Cabernet Franc to a Merlot Cabernet Sauvignon blend just adds some additional elements to it. It increases the complexity of the wine. What it does specifically, it's going to be different things to different people. Yes, sir?
Organic, you said organically grown. Is it any different than biodynamic?
Oh yeah, it's a huge difference. The question was, is there a difference between organics and biodynamics? I need to bring my slide projector up here right now and put up the screen. Everybody get comfortable, because the answer to this question is going to take about 4 hours. Biodynamics is a school of agricultural work that was developed through a series of lectures by a guy named Rudolf Steiner in the 1930s. Rudolf Steiner was Austrian by birth. He had actually been in the German government during World War I. And at the end of World War I, the country of Germany was basically decimated. It had been really destroyed after 6 years of trench warfare. The country was, the population was starving, the agricultural industry in Germany had been brought to a halt, and Rudolf Steiner, who actually was the development of the Waldorf School of Education, if you're familiar with that. That was his other great thing. He was an educator by trade. But he came up with a series of agricultural lectures to the German government that basically involved the production of super fertilizers. There's only so much fertilizer available. No way you can stretch it out to grow enough crops, wheats, oats, barley, potato, all these things that are necessary for the population of a country. There's no way you can feed them with the amount of fertilizer that's on hand. So we need to develop super fertilizers, and then we have to time the application of those fertilizers in accordance with the solar system so as to maximize the impact. So we maximize the fertilizer, and then we maximize the time. It's this wonderfully beautiful philosophy. At some point, 20 or 30 years ago, some growers in France and Germany, where they're trying to grow grapes in many instances on land that's much like rock, came up with the idea, well, I can use Rudolf Steiner's biodynamic ideas to get my soil a little bit more fertile. And it worked. And there was this huge interest in biodynamics. It has nothing to do with the wine. It has everything to do now with marketing concepts. People say, hey, I'm a biodynamic farmer. I not only am cool, but I know something that you don't know. And it has nothing to do with quality farming. It has everything to do with a big crop. I got into a long conversation with Kimberly about this, and she said, oh. So, well, I mean, that's it. You can go online and order these Rudolf Steiner lectures, and you read them, and he's got some great ideas. One of the things that he does is he takes cow dung, fresh cow dung, and puts it into a cow horn and buries it at the right time of the moon and keeps it underground for 30 days, and then takes it out, dilutes it 1 to 1,000, and then sprays it on the crops. Well, I'm sorry, but I think that's really cool. But I don't really want to do it. So that's biodynamics. Organics is real simple. Organic is the absence of herbicides, the absence of pesticides, and the retention of the soil. End of discussion. You don't put herbicides on the ground, you don't put pesticides on the ground, and you don't let the ground erode. You're organic. Yes.
So, if you're organic, how do you keep the bugs and all those things off?
You know, there's several things that you do. When I turned to organic farming in 1999, it happened as a result of going outside early one Saturday morning. The company that did the farming for us then had sent one of their workers over, and the worker was donning this white suit with a helmet and a mask. And I walked over, and in my fractured Spanish said, what's going on here? Rodolfo was his name. And he said, oh, we've got thrips, so I'm spraying something. Now remember, I'm a chemist. So I said, what are you spraying? And he said, oh, it's over there in that tub. And I went and looked at it. It was oxymethylorphalon, or something I couldn't pronounce. And I looked at the base and I said, I don't want this stuff. So I got 3 kids and 2 dogs living in this house. The fact is that we became organic farmers that afternoon. 2 or 3 days later, I contacted an organic farming consultant, and I said, we've got thrips, what do we do? He said, oh, use a mild apple cider vinegar solution with water, and just apply it to the underside of the leaves. Gets rid of the thrips. I didn't need this unpronounceable white milky chemical. I needed some vinegar. What's more natural than vinegar? You throw an apple, it falls on the ground, it becomes vinegar. Sorry. No Dow chemical involved in that, right? So that's what we do. We have a range of things that we do depending upon the concern that we have. The single most important thing that we do, though, is by not spraying, we allow natural predators to return. What we do, however, is plant a cover crop that provides a habitat for them. If you came out to my ranch in early May and sat outside for 20 minutes, you'd have 4 or 5 ladybugs on your arms. I go outside and I see praying mantises every day. I lived on this property for 10 years and never saw a praying mantis. In the springtime, I'll now see 20 or 30 a day. Guess what? They're the good guys. And they know they're welcome at my place.
Yes? You mentioned before a few of the large production wineries like Agave and such. They have to collect from so many different geologists and atmospheric regions. I mean, things go from 500 farms, 1,000 farms to make that much wine. do they lose the ability to make really complex and distinct flavors?
Well,
Average
that's
over
a good question too. I don't really want to say that they do because Mondavi makes a lot of really good wine, but making it in large quantities, as again, I'll use the example of a restaurant. If you have a kitchen that's turning out 1,000 entrees a night, do they lose some control? Absolutely. But there's no reason that it can't still be very good. Mondavi, I think, has answered that question better than any winery in history. The quality of wine that Mondavi Winery turns out is absolutely inexplicable, the amount of wine that they make. And it happened really because of one man, Robert Mondavi, and his vision. Single greatest man in the history of the wine business is Robert Mondavi.
The alternative to that question is there any virtue that's important to you?
Well, you know, I don't think that it's reasonable to assume that just because someone makes a little bit of wine that it's going to be really good wine. I know a lot of people that make a little bit of wine, I wish they didn't make any. And they probably wish they didn't make any too, sometimes. No, it doesn't necessarily follow that the smaller your production, the better the wine's going to be. What you need to do to make good wine is you need to have good grapes, and you have to care a lot about what you do. If there's anything in the world that I'm leaving you with today, I would hope that it's a sense that I care about what I do. I really do. And I've cared about it for a long time, and I'll care about it as long as I'm alive. Okay?